Welcome back to the MidWeek Breakdown. My name is the AntMan. He's Brandon. He's Dalton. And guys, we don't talk about this. Brandon, you and I have talked a little, but I'm going to start off the show today to let you guys both know, because you know the name, both of you do, that we now live in a world where John Cena is a bad guy.
Bad guy. I knew that's what you were going to say.
Just so you know, that's the world we live in right now.
That is crazy. I'm going to tell you, I've almost texted you probably 10 times this week.
Yeah.
Because I get the TikToks and I'll see the TikToks of him turning on Cody Rhodes and with The Rock doing the, sign to him and stuff.
Yeah.
And I did see one of your Wrestle Chat. I don't know if it was an Instagram story, like just a quick story or something, talking about it, about the correlation between the Rock and the Cena when Rock held up the 1, 2, 3 before, you were talking about that. And I've almost texted you a couple times, but you should. Crazy.
You should. I'll tell you this, we're not going to dive into it on this podcast, but if you are into wrestling at all, we do dive into it on the Wrestle Chat podcast. So here, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a place down at the bottom that says other channels that we love. Wrestle Chat is on there. Click on that and you watch this week's episode, and we dive into all the things. Now, do we really think that those elements that that people are bringing up are real correlations? Check out the podcast and find out. You do know who John Cena is, Dalton, right?
I do, yeah. There's a song about him. I know that.
You know the song, but you don't know him. Is it?
Well, I know who he is. I knew he was a wrestler.
Is it that Christmas song?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I don't think Dalton's ever seen him, though.
I don't think anybody's seen him. You can't see John Cena.
He has no clue what we're talking about.
He doesn't. Not at all.
I don't pay attention to wrestling.
He knows John Cena from a song. That's how he knows John Cena. Let's get into stuff that you do know about, Dalton. Let's start off with Oklahoma football. That's what we're here to talk about, is some sports this week. And although we're not in football season, there is some news this week, and a lot of people going back and forth like their opinion is going to change what has actually happened. And that is, they've canceled the spring game and they're starting something new called the Crimson and Cream Combine. You guys in our text have been saying that, man, this is what a lot of schools are doing. I haven't seen another school do this. I've only seen spring games. So who would like to jump in first to fill everybody in on this if you're not aware?
I don't care. So, there are several schools, and this is really the first year for it.
Yeah.
But there are several schools that are not having it this year. I don't think Texas is having a spring game this year.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I think that's already come out.
Neither is Nebraska.
Okay, neither is Nebraska. There's a lot of D1 schools that are going away from it, and as much as or as little as they hit and do, big pushes in the spring game, there's still the chance for injury. And honestly, I feel like OU jumped on the bandwagon this year because on the bandwagon that's just started, but they've jumped on that bandwagon this year because of the amount of injuries we had last year. I also talked about this in a previous podcast when we were talking about the transfer portals.
Okay.
Some schools are going away from it. I really think this is going to lead to only one transfer portal being open a season or a year.
A year. Interesting.
So they're going to make the transfer portal later, not have spring games. They're going to have spring practices. And they had a media day today with all the some of the OU players and the coaches and stuff. And they're going to have several more, instead of doing the spring game, they're going to have several more scrimmage type practices, good on good, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But the difference is they're not open to the public.
Okay.
So I get what they're doing.
The combine is, though.
The combine is open to the public, and the combine is actually people that can sign up to go do the combine thing.
Oh, okay.
You can have like a 14-year-old kid go run the shuttle or run the 40-yard dash, or, and what you're going to end up having is a bunch of, 45-year-old men that think they can get out there and make themselves look good trying to run the 40 in 8 seconds.
So this is about tearing more ACLs and MCLs.
Right. Just not the players.
Yeah. Just not the players. That's good. Yeah. As long as the guy's sitting on the couch on Saturday anyway, it doesn't really matter.
I don't mind not having the spring game because I feel like it's been a joke. I mean, if y'all recall a couple of years ago, Peyton Bowen, if y'all remember Peyton Bowen, defensive back, Bowen threw a 96-yard touchdown pass a couple of years ago.
Okay.
He never threw a pass in college. but he threw a 96-yard touchdown pass in the spring game.
Just playing around.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just a glorified don't hit anybody hard scrimmage.
Yeah, sure.
So I would rather them do some more good-on-good scrimmages and more stuff like that. I mean, it did come out today. We still have, 3, 4, 5. We still have 9 players injured that aren't going to see spring ball at all.
Wow.
Aren't going to see spring practice at all. 4 or 5 of them were starters last year for significant roles. And so 2 offensive linemen that played a lot last year, Logan Hallen, Heath Ozeta. You got Jaden Jackson on the defensive line is not going to. You got Javonte Barnes, who his foot injury just keeps creeping in. And that foot injury when he got hurt against Maine, before that game, he was the leading rusher or whatever. But, I mean, what was that, game 2 or game 3 last year? So Darius Afalava, an offensive lineman that is a highly touted guy coming in, not going to be involved in any spring practices or spring workouts.
Sure.
So I really think we jumped on that bandwagon because we've been so injured.
Okay.
And we're trying to get some of these guys good. And
well, it might be safer across the board if so many schools are jumping into this, and you still get the public engagement from fans and from families. Make it a family day, go out, kids can run, do things. Players are not doing anything though, right? Or they're just going to be like a glorified media day just with people, or are they going to be suited up to do a few things, you think?
I mean, it doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
It sounds like it's just going to be an open to the public kind of event. Okay. Buy a $5 ticket and get in, do whatever.
Yeah. Get some autographs maybe.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They will be, the players will be there. Coaches will be there to give autographs and talk to people or whatever. But it's a joke. I think the combine thing is dumb. I think I would bet you money that this is the only year they do that.
You got to call it something though, right? So maybe that's why.
I guess. I guess.
Spring Family Day in Norman. Why not?
Well, Nebraska specific, they just called it what it is. Matt Rule just said, he was like, I'm not going to give other teams an opportunity to recruit my players.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened. I mean, he had 2 quarterbacks last spring sit behind Dylan Raiola. They went all through the spring. They played in the spring game, got a chance to showcase themselves a little bit, but everybody knew Dylan Raiola was going to be the guy. Next thing you know, he loses backup quarterback. So he just called it what it is. I think most teams are probably doing that. It just, there's no point in putting players on display in an 11-on-11 setting when all scouts have to do is buy a $5 ticket, could easily show up.
Sure.
And find a way to meet with these people, families in their towns, all that stuff. So I've thought for a while we're gonna see spring games go. Like, I think they're pointless. And I would also like to point out, Oklahoma State did not set this trend last year. They just didn't have enough players in the spring to play a spring game, but they're not trendsetters. Let's be clear with that. And it shows because they didn't even put a football team on the field this season. So. I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody.
That was burning, wasn't it? You had to get that out.
Yeah. I thought I saw smoke for a second, and I was like, man, something's on fire at Dalton's house. No.
Well, I had a friend hit me up like, oh, see, we didn't have a spring game last year. Everybody's doing it. I'm like, you didn't have 22 players in the spring last year. You couldn't have had a spring game. Even Gunnar Gundy left. Like,
well, something that has happened over the past couple of years is like ESPN picking up spring games and broadcasting them. I wonder what they're going to fill that time with Family Day in Norman or, in Nebraska or in Stillwater or whatever.
They're going to do spring game day at University of Louisiana Lafayette.
You could do that. That's fine. Yeah. Get a little TV time. Why not?
Yeah.
And we could recruit from there.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing with it is after spring season is over, the portal opens again. So that's why a lot of these teams are like, no, if you didn't want them now, I'm not going to show you anything to want them after spring practice, like Dalton was talking about with Nebraska. That's why I think we really end up doing away with most of the spring games for your, Power 4 programs and only going to one portal.
Yeah. Be good. Speaking of spring, Got the bats swinging both sides, men's and women. Women's softball B. It's starting to warm up in Oklahoma, and it looks like that maybe spring, the early spring, is settling in, and maybe there won't be a crazy freeze again. But luckily, you won't be there to experience it.
Yes, I won't. This is my last podcast in Oklahoma.
Getting out of Dodge for sure. So how are the women looking right now heading into spring?
Man, they're looking so good right now. It's crazy because I've said all along. Say what?
Getting momentum again.
They are, and I've said all season long. This is not the Oklahoma that we're used to, but we are still Oklahoma. I mean, just Cassidy Pickering. She's the one I'm going to jump out with on the top. Cassidy Pickering, freshman All-American last year. Her and Ella Parker both. But Cassidy Pickering's been struggling she struggled for the first couple weeks of the season. These last 2 weeks of the season, she has just come out swinging. Ended up with 3 home runs last weekend, and still not playing anybody yet for 2 more days. Still not playing anybody. We do have South Carolina coming to town for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series at Love's Field this week. So our first taste of SEC play. But man, just looking down the stat line, 8 of our 9 players, 8 of our 9 batters are batting over 310. Unbelievable. We have like 13 different players, 12 different players that have hit a home run so far this year.
Nice.
You go to the pitching side of it. And like I said last week, our pitching's been amazing. Isabella Smith's ERA, she did actually lose her 0.00 ERA last week.
Okay. Couldn't last forever.
Her ERA is 0.27.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. South Carolina comes in this week, and South Carolina has some bats. South Carolina, I believe, leads the SEC in team batting average. They will hit the home run. They will hit the gaps in between left center and right center. I mean, they will hit the ball. They also will give up some runs. So we could be up for 3 giant shootouts. There is about a 2.5 hour stretch when I'm going to be moving back to the beach on Saturday that I'm going to be tuned in and listening. Okay. Because we will play them in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday. And so I will still be driving then, and I will be tuning and listening on the road, driving a 20-foot box truck through what's supposed to be like 20 to 30 mile an hour winds the whole way.
Yeah. And you'll be driving right by here, and it has been atrocious for 2 days now. Yeah,
it's crazy. But back to OU softball, I guess. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. But our pitching staff, I mean, out of our 4 starters, Audrey Lowry is a freshman. She's only started in 2 games, but she has the worst ERA of everybody at 2.37. Sam Landry, 1.47. Kirsten Dill and Isabella Smith both under 1, with Kirsten Dill sporting a 0.76 ERA. Right. It's been crazy watching because we weren't sure what kind of pitching we were going to have coming in this year because we lost a lot last year. And same with the bats, really. We lost 6 All-Americans last year that all averaged like 340 or above. And so you're thinking you can't possibly rebuild from that. Wrong. Natty Patty gets it done every year. Natty Patty. She's got 4 national championships in a row. They're playing great. There's a big test coming up this weekend with South Carolina coming to town. So you guys that are out there, I believe all of those games are still on ESPN Plus on the SEC network.
I think all of them are, yeah.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if they had an opening, if one of those got popped into a regular ESPN or an ESPN2.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
But it's looking like we're all on ESPN Plus, but get ready and watch those games because this is going to be the first true test, and we're going to see if the Oklahoma softball team is for real or if they've just not been playing anybody.
Dalton, question for you. Do you know more about women's softball or John Cena?
Women's softball.
Got it.
But just because you talk to me a lot?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'll watch their games.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Speaking of what you do know a lot about, Dalton, and that's basketball, men's basketball SEC tournament time. How are we feeling about the men at Oklahoma?
So up in the air.
Yeah.
As of this week, Joe Lunardi has Oklahoma as the first team out. So that's the 69th team in the field. They finish up SEC play with a home game against Missouri. They go on the road against Texas. I think that Oklahoma would be feeling decent if they could snag 2 wins between one of these 2 games and the SEC tournament. I think if you get 2 wins alone in the SEC tournament, you're going to be feeling really good. A win against Missouri, number 15 in the nation, they're going to be a top 5 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you find a way to beat Missouri, that's going to carry you a long ways. I mean, the wild thing about Oklahoma and just the SEC in general, if you look at the ACC, Oklahoma would be a top 4 team in the ACC. If you look at the Big 12, Oklahoma's a top 8 team in the Big 12. Somehow, the SEC has surpassed the ACC, who used to be this dominant conference. The Duke, the North Carolina, and even the teams that trickled down were always the toughest. And then Kansas has always been really tough. But then you enter Houston and Baylor with Scott Drew. Like then Oklahoma played in this like powerhouse of a Big 12, and it's like, all right, finally, we're not in either of those conferences. We're going to the SEC, and now you're in the toughest, maybe arguably ever conference. I mean, from top to bottom, this conference would beat any other conference. So it's wild to me, and that's why I was actually talking with Unc earlier this week. As of now, to be honest, that is the only reason Oklahoma is still on the fringe, because they're taking into account how tough they are. And I got to give it to OU. In their last 4 or 5 games, the way they're losing sucks. They've got to find a way to finish some of these late, but they're competing. So, I mean, when you lose in a game where you could have beat Kentucky and, you're battling and it looks like you have these opportunities, they're at least still getting respect for that. I'll say tonight I'm a little nervous just because Mark Mitchell, he started at Duke. I mean, he's not just a transfer from Missouri that played for Duke. He started for Duke. He had 25 in the first half when they played in Columbia the first time they played OU. And that's been, I mean, when Parker was on, he talked about it. Oklahoma just doesn't have that front court. And that's going to be the tough thing tonight. I feel a lot better about going on the road to Austin and beating Texas than I would playing at home against Missouri, just because I don't know if Godwin, I don't know if Waggy, I don't know if they can hang. And so they're going to have to do something different. If they don't make a change against Missouri tonight, it's going to be another 20 to 30 point loss. And then at that point, getting into the tournament, it's a much tougher uphill climb.
I know I don't ask the questions very often, but Dalton, let me ask you a question. What is Porter Moser's status if he makes the tournament? I think if he doesn't make the tournament, he's out. Is there any scenario where you see him keeping his job going to next season outside of making the tournament?
If he doesn't make the tournament, no, I don't. I don't see a scenario where that's the case. I think
if he makes the tournament, does he keep his job?
Yes, I think if he makes the tournament this year, that he doesn't get fired. It would also come down to his contract, right? So if you guys remember last year, North Carolina State, they were one of the worst teams in college basketball. I want to say they had only won 3 conference games all season long, had the bottom seed in the ACC tournament. He was going to get fired as soon as the season ended. And he won 6 games in 7 days to beat 3 top 5 teams, including Duke and North Carolina, to make it to the national tournament. So then he got a raise based on his contract that he made the national tournament. He went from being fired to getting a raise. Not only that, he made it all the way to the Final Four. So they only won like 3 conference games, and then they went on this huge run to the Final Four. And so it really comes down to what incentives were put in Porter's contract that OU would have to honor if he finds a way to win 2 SEC games, if he finds a way to get to the Final Four of the SEC tournament, if he finds a way to get into the conference tournament or to the NCAA tournament. Sure. I'd be curious to see what those incentives are. to my knowledge, they didn't rework his contract.
No, they didn't. And I just looked, and if he's terminated before his contract is up, the buyout is $7.65 million paid in monthly installments through June of 2028.
Yeah. The other thing I've thought of, and that's interesting. I don't know if Porter makes a run here late, I don't know that he's not going to entertain other jobs. It's got to be discouraging to go everywhere else, whether conference or non-conference, and play in front of more fans than you do in 5 games combined in the Lloyd Noble.
Ooh, man.
Yeah. I could see him entertaining other jobs anyways.
Yeah.
Period.
But I'm saying, if he gets fired, he obviously will. But I'm saying if Oklahoma keeps him, I wouldn't be surprised if he just left on his own at this point.
Yeah.
There's not. This is not. He's a ball coach. Whether you agree with his X's and O's, whether you agree with his style, he's got a lot of energy. He finds ways to get guys up for games, and he's found ways to compete with less in Norman. Not win all the time, but compete. And we've obviously seen that he can get to a Final Four with the team. So I think that he's going to entertain some other jobs, which, hard to blame anybody. Why does anybody want to come to Norman at this point? Especially in this conference right now. Oh my goodness.
No doubt.
When's the tournament start? Next week?
SEC tournament would start next week, and then the March Madness would start after that, ending April 4th and 5th is the Final Four.
Nice. We I know I'm putting one of you on the spot asking this question because we didn't talk about it before, but how many games do we have left in the Thunder season?
Let's see. We are
right at 20.
Okay.
All right. I was going to say, that sounds right.
We're going to work on getting Brandon Ribar back on with us to talk as we end the season, get ready for the playoffs. Also, a special treat for baseball fans. In-stadium PA announcer Tom Travis for men's baseball at Oklahoma is going to join us here on the show in the next couple of weeks as well. So
that's great. There is one stat that Oklahoma, I heard this today, Oklahoma has the only school in the D1 whose diamond sports are undefeated so far. OU baseball and OU softball, neither one has lost a game yet.
Say that again. Women, so softball and
baseball are both undefeated so far.
At
neither
home
one of the period.
On the road. No, the men lost just the other day.
They just talked about this today on the radio. Somebody messed up then because I just heard it on the radio.
Because I was talking to Tom today. He goes, man, the guys got spanked the other night. And I guess that wasn't a home game. He said no. So it was last night before?
Oh, maybe I heard it yesterday. I'm old.
Okay. You heard it before the game that they got spanked.
Probably.
Yeah. He was just talking about their batters of whoever the team was. It was like San Diego State East Side or something like that. I don't know what it was. You see it? You found it yet?
I'm looking right now. Oh yeah, we're 11-1 now. Who did we lose to? I want to know who we lost to. Here we go. Oh, you're kidding me.
Who is it?
Dalton. We lost to one of the old schools that you coached at.
Oh,
you lost to Dallas Baptist.
There it is.
Didn't coach there. I was a Dallas Christian, but I was like,
oh, okay, good. Okay, good. I was like, good Lord. But there is a crazy stat. Dallas Christian has now, with that loss, I guess, Dallas Christian has now beat us like 5 out of the last 6 times we played them.
Well, so they're a D2 school, but baseball is the only sport they're D1, and I think they're in. Didn't they? I think they joined the Big 12.
Did they now?
For baseball.
For baseball?
I'd have to double check that, but
I could have told you
series. I want to say they were playing. Double check that because I know they played Texas. Conference USA. Okay.
But apparently,
but only one. So there you go.
Apparently, Dallas Baptist just has OU's number right now.
Tom told me that there's some swingers for sure. Some guys just with crazy bats on that team.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they had to beat OU because OU's been on a tear.
Yeah, right. Looking forward to talking to Tom here in the next couple of weeks and kind of get some insight on the baseball side more than what we can look up. He's sitting there in the press box the whole time, hanging out, talking with these guys. So that'll be a lot of fun, and it'd be good to catch up with him. And then maybe before that spring combine, we can see if Parker wouldn't mind swinging back by and tell us how the season looks at springtime.
Yeah. We'll reach out to him and see if we can't get him plugged back in to go another round with us.
Dalton, why have you never seen John Cena?
I just don't watch wrestling.
Wrong answer.
Yeah, I figured.
No, because you can't see me. That's his deal. Right before the 5-knuckle shuffle.
He's going to come on here next week with like all of this info about pro wrestling.
I am. I'm about to binge watch so much YouTube.
Dude, go on Netflix. WWE. You can watch all the WWE stuff on Netflix for free now.
That's right.
On Netflix right now, I'm watching Court of Gold, and I highly recommend it. It's about the Olympic basketball.
Yeah, I saw it on there.
Really good. Really good.
Just showing there too Breaking Bad. Have you seen that?
No, I didn't watch Breaking Bad.
Just joking.
I didn't either, actually.
Really?
I didn't either.
Okay. All right.
We tried a couple of times, and we'd get 2 or 3 episodes in, and I'd be like, this is dumb. I'm out.
Like, they're not giving us the full recipe. I'm not doing that.
Right. I'm in Oklahoma. Don't they know I need the recipe?
That's right. That's it. Anything else we need to hit before we take off this week? And you get packed up, B?
I don't think so. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing when I get off of here is going and starting packing up the kitchen. So
nice.
I'm
eat off paper plates one more night.
I'm ready to be gone. Oh, we're just going out the rest of the week.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Don't dirty up that kitchen. That's right.
No, I don't want to have to clean it another time. Guys, it's been great. I know it's not football season, so it's not as fun as it normally is for us because we love talking football, but we get our basketball, our baseball, our softball, our John Cena stuff. We get that in. Oh, Dalton's thrown it up.
Oh, he did. Hey, I like it.
Guys, you know what they say, right?
The weekend is good.
But the midweek is always better.
And boom goes the dynamite.